Alan, is it possible to have a hot SUV?
No, I'd rather a hot hatch.
Well, what about the Hyundai Kona N?
Like this one. David, has this girded your loins? Are your loins girded by this what looks to be, to me, a little hot hatch?
That was my immediate response.
Yeah?
It looked hot hatchish.
Looks great. It looks great. Do you think it fits in with Hyundai's N range though?
I think it fits in much better than if you were to try and make a Santa Fe N, you know, that would look contrived. I don't think this looks contrived.
Well, let's think about the specifics of this car for a minute. It has a 2-litre turbocharged, as they say, GDI, which is gasoline direct injection engine, with how many kilowatts, David?
206, which is a little bit more than a WRX.
And a Newton meters?
392.
Ooh, that's nippy. And it feels nippy, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Let's deal with this. This is the matte, with 2 T's and an E, finish. And this grey matte finish is $1,000 extra, David. You get a little bit of trim and a head-up display.
For $3,000.
For $3,000. So I really don't, I think I'd just kind of go for this one.
It's easy to say, but gee, I like a head-up display, particularly with a hot car.
So do I. Have a look at this in profile though. This is where it looks like a hot hatch, I think.
Well, it's the evolution of SUV from rough and tough four-wheel drives now down to a replacement for a sedan.
Svelte.
Do you like the accent from the red there?
I do. I do. I think it makes it lifts the base model to a level that looks like it's worth 50 grand. Because look, to be honest with you, inside, this doesn't look like a 50 grand car.
It does make it look outside more hot hatchish.
Makes you want to touch it, and this matte paint actually feels matte. You can feel the fact that it's not glossy. I like it a lot.
Alan, are there any distinguishing features on the back of this to tell me it's a Kona?
Apart from the number plate, which says it is, Kona badge, Hyundai badge, and an N badge. And the lights sort of reflect what's happening at the front. You've got the kind of little top bit and then the bottom bit. So this is the kind of, you know, the party bit, and this is the sensible kind of reversing fog, you know, all of that sort of stuff. Just looks very, very cool. And the body kit, by the way, includes this rear diffuser, the size of Tasmania.
Alan, when we spoke to the designer when it was first launched some years ago, this squinty sort of look on the back and the front was quite leading in its design.
It was unusual for the time, especially at the front. And it was Kevin Kang was his name. He went into a lot of detail about why things were the way they were. And when this car, because this car is nearing the end of its life, when it came out, it was extremely unusual. You can see inside.
Well, it's got enough room for a couple to go away, as my partner and I did, on a weekend and carry all that you need.
And there's enough room, even if you didn't have any freeloaders, but there's enough room for some freeloaders in the back, which we're going to look at now.
Alan, immediately, headroom under there was good. I didn't have to crunch down, which can be a problem, but the amount of space here is limited. My knees.
That is tight. We've got the sports upholstery thing going on, which is fair enough. A USB port.
Yes.
And a little bin of some kind. But other than that, there's not a whole lot in the back. I guess you're really going to be playing rag dolls in this on the track, David. First of all, a few words before we head off. We've got basically the same screen.
I thought you wanted to say a prayer.
Well, I have driven with you before, so yes. You've got the same driver's screen that you've got from other Hyundais, the same infotainment screen. It's got the same buttons. That'll be 10.25. That's going to be 10.25 as well from the looks. But the most important part of this car is the N steering wheel that has N's on it. David, there's N's all over the place. for going up and down and putting it into various different M modes. They're of course programmable. And then you've got the Grin button, which is the big red thing that says NGS. And in some cases, this will tell you, David, get this, when you're getting near an appropriate track that it's got mapped out. I mean, God almighty. I mean, would you take your private car to a track? I would not.
The only thing is that they don't void the warranty if you've taken it to a track, which I think is very generous of them.
It's an N car, so just as well. Down below, we've got the direct select buttons for climate control. There's single zone only in this, which is a little disappointing. For 50 grand, I think I'd want more, but there's N's all over it. We've already covered the fact that this has got the sporty upholstery, although it just looks to me to be not sporty at all. But the surfacing is basically the same as any other Kona.
We're in eco mode at the moment, Alan.
Are we really?
In respect to the local environment, it's not too loud, but it's still got enough immediaely in its performance.
Don't spend $50,000, David, to be in bloody eco mode. What the hell are you thinking? While we're on the subject of that, though, we do have drive modes down yonder. They've got two kind of versions, if you like, a road version where you can select drive modes for highway and so forth. And then you've got what looks to be a little bit of a holiday pleasure mode with drive modes for mud, snow and so forth. David, this is a front wheel drive car. I think I'd want to take it into snow, to be quite honest. I don't think I'd want to take any front wheel drive car into snow. So the accelerator, David, does feel very on and off. And because it's in normal mode now, I mean, if you put it in sport mode, it's even nippier. And it's even... Come on, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. All right, go for it, gun it. And we're going to stop. Oh, we were getting enthusiastic there for a minute. As soon as we got around the corner, bang, we're smack in afternoon traffic. Welcome to Sydney, ladies and gentlemen. But this is what you'd be doing, isn't it? This is you'd be doing your commute, your afternoon commute from work.
Yes.
Do you really seriously think anybody is going to take a car like this onto a track?
Oh yeah. So what if that spirited drive is not quite as much as a sedan or a hatch might do? You still get a huge feel of zooming around corners at speeds that most people would never imagine.
Well, we haven't taken this on a track, have we?
No.
Look, I think it would be fun. I don't think I would do it in my own car. I've been to a number of launches on tracks where they've gone through clutches and brakes and brake pads and had a truck full of tyres. So it doesn't bode well for your car at the end of, let's say, 40 laps or 20 laps or whatever.
You want your digital speedo reader in the middle.
Right, David, I'm going to put my foot down. A little bit of a... Oh, geez. I tell you what, that's quite respectable, and that's not as fast as it can go, and this does have launch control. I think I would not want to experience this in launch control, and I am now in fact going to put this, and I was just saying that the drive mode selector, you can just keep turning it in the one direction, it'll go through all of the, there was a pothole, you can go through all of the modes. So in how with some you've got to remember what mode you're in and whether you have to go backwards or forwards. This you can just keep going and knowing you'll eventually get to the mode you want. This, considering I'm now in what I suppose would be considered comfort mode, just normal mode, it's reasonably quiet. You can hear a little bit of tyre noise. Not a lot of noise from the outside, and I can't hear any wind noise. The ride, I think it's acceptable. We've driven many a hot hatch, David. We've driven Golf GTIs and Golf Rs and indeed other hot Hyundais, Kia Stinger, other brands, posh brands. This, I think, really holds its head up well. It's sophisticated. The suspension is absolutely magnificent. It's a little too firm for my liking. I'd like the comfort setting to be soft, so that, you know, when you don't need that sporty ride, it's more comfortable. You can select, you can dial up your level of misery. Now I'm just going to demonstrate, David. I'm going to turn on the Smart Cruise. And I've also got the Smart Steering. It allegedly will pick the centre of the lane and stick to it. Seems to be doing an okay job.
The Koreans are pretty good at that.
And at the same time, you've got all the other Hyundai safety sense stuff looking out for you as well. So it's still got active cruise, and it's got warning, you know, exit warning, all of that sort of stuff. It still feels like you're being properly looked after. I like that. The sound system is adequate. It's not brilliant. It is Harman Kardon, but I think it's probably not the top entry speakers. Indicators are on the correct side for us, which I like. All in all, David, let's wrap this up. The suspension, I think, is brilliant. Steering,
I think it's got a nice adaptable balance to it.
I agree. What about the acceleration in all the modes?
Enjoyable, including the little burble you get when you're in sports mode.
That little, well, I call it a fart.
Alan, it is technically possible to have a hot SUV, but is it desirable?
I think it is when the SUV looks like a hot hatch like this one does. We loved it a lot. Little rough on the bumpy roads, but other than that, it's brilliant.
So Alan, we come to the end of the road test. My turn this time to say hit like,
Leave a comment,
and hit subscribe.